What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles submitted to the channel by Naveen Joseph, who's running two buffed level 50 steel types in Aron and Shadow Magnemite. Now of course both Pokemon in the back have a double weakness to the ground typing, and in the Fantasy Cup ground and steel types are fairly common, so we're running the newly released Shadow Altaria with Flamethrower as the answer to those steel and ground types. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. Which move update do you think has gone under the radar this season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. So go into the first battle, leading Shadow Altaria into Azumarill, of course. Not the best matchup for us. We're actually going to swap out straight away. I wouldn't mind staying in, maybe even potentially trying to catch a charge move onto our Aron, of course. Altaria going to take very minimal damage from the bubbles, whereas if we swap into Aron, immediately we're going to take super effective damage from those bubbles, and Azumarill can just bank the energy for later to use into Altaria. But we bait out a Turtonator, we're able to land the Rock Tomb, debuff their attack, reach a Body Slam, and grab a shield from the Turtonator. Aron unfortunately not quite reaching another Body Slam, but that's okay with us. Gonna come back in with the Shadow Altaria. They are debuffed. Dragon Claw does just under, well actually around 50% of our HP. A second Dragon Claw is actually gonna get the KO, and now it's all up to Shadow Magnemite, but we get the Volt Switch farm down. We don't take any damage from the Incinerate, and they're gonna have a shiny Shadow Scizor in the back, so we can go straight for Discharge. Discharge grabs the final shield, and we should be looking good, but Azu does have quite a lot of energy, so gonna shield the Night Slash. We are now gonna commit to a farm down here, but we actually don't quite get the farm down there before they reach a second charge move, and that is agonizing for us because unfortunately Azumarill does have a charge move banked. I think we should have just thrown the Discharge into that Scizor. Hydro Pump easily one-shots us there, and unfortunately we do lose that game. So going into the next battle, this is even worse for us. We are definitely going to have to swap out straight away this time around into the Aron, as they are on Powder Snow. Shadow on Shadow, that would be doing big damage into Altaria. We're going to shield the Drill Run, and the opponent's now going to swap into Altaria, but that's fine with us. This is a really strong matchup for Aron. We go straight for Rock Tomb. We're actually not going to overfarm at all here. I personally would love to see us overfarm a lot more than we have done, but they're now double debuffed, and they do end up shielding. So Aron can, of course, tank a Flamethrower relatively comfortably. These Dragon Breaths are dealing 1 damage each, so we can tank it very comfortably. We go for Body Slam. Body Slam gets the KO there. They come back in with the Alolan Sand Slash, and unfortunately, because once again we did not overfarm by too much, we do get outpaced there. But we can come in with the Shadow Magnemite, and the opponent's going to swap into their final Pokemon, a Shadow Dragonite, but we're already at back-to-back discharges. The opponent does have a charge move loaded, but Shadow Magnemite winning CMP up against the Dragonite. Discharge number 2 gets the KO. We swap back into our Altaria. Don't really need to do this, but I guess the opponent gonna full send the Ice Punch. We can come back in, one more Volt Switch, takes out the Shadow Sand Slash, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, great lead matchup for us as we lead into a Turtonator. And again, it looks like we're going to no-shield this. We've seen already Dragon Claw going to do quite a lot of damage here. Actually doing more damage this time, as previously the Turtonator had been debuffed with a Rock Tomb. But either way, we still win the zero shield scenario. They come in with a Waterfall Primarina, which is an interesting pick. We're going to come in with the Shadow Magnemite. Going to shield once. We should now be able to go for a full Volt Switch farm down. So the opponent swaps into their final Pokemon, but they've got an Acid Dragalge. So here we're going to bait with a Discharge. Discharge grabs a shield. We can now come in with Aron, and despite the fact that, of course, Arctotail going to hit for super effective damage here, it's probably going to do more damage up against the Shadow Magnemite just because of how glassy that Pokemon is. And also, we do triple resist the acid damage, meaning we do not need to shield either of these these Arctotails. We can fire off the Rock Tomb. They do snipe with the Primarina, but now we can come back in with Shadow Magnemite. We come out with the Magnet Bomb loaded, but actually, we're going to wait until the opponent throws. I guess not. In the end, we put them into range where Magnet Bomb gets the KO regardless, and we're able to take that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Azumarill again, and again, we're going to swap out straight away. I'm not so sure about that, and this is definitely not so great for us as we see a Lone and Doug trio coming in, but we do need to bait it out, so, of course, not the best for us, but we did kind of need for that to happen. We're going to come in with Altaria, we have debuffed them. Ironhead still does respectable damage there. I guess I'm just not used to seeing Altaria take a lot of damage because it is in its shadow form, but either way, we are going to shield. I like this play, and then just commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down. If they come back in with the Azumarill, we're probably going to chip with a single Sky Attack and then just swap into our Magnemite, bank a second Sky Attack. So Sky Attack is going to be no-shielded. It really doesn't do that much damage. And now we swap into our Magnemite. And unfortunately, even though they probably just go for an Ice Beam here, it's resisted damage. We kind of need to shield that anyways. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Galarian Weezing. And we should be able to reach back-to-back discharges here as the opponent is reaching an Overheat. However, unfortunately, they do still have another shield in play. So they use their final shield. Of course, Overheat, if they do send it, is going to one-shot us. We can come back in with the Altaria. We do overfarm just a little bit. We're going to go for Sky Attack. Sky Attack gets the KO there. And have we put them into range where a Sky Attack will KO? We're going to throw on the CMP tie, throwing as late as possible. But Sky Attack doesn't quite get the KO there. And unfortunately, we do lose that game. So, of course, Ice Beam, unfortunately, is going to very easily take us out there. But into the next battle, and it is the same game over and over again. It basically feels like they're going to come in with a Waterfall Primarina. This is kind of strange. I've not seen any Primarina in this meta. However, I only played like 2 days of this meta anyway, so I guess not a huge sample size. But anyways, we're going to go for the Body Slam here. Body Slam is going to grab the final shield. We actually would have reached a second Rock Tomb. Doesn't really matter too much, but of course, we're going to no-shield this, recognizing Ice Beam is going to do a lot more damage than the Disarming Voice. And now we're going to swap, make the perfect catch there, catching the charge move onto our Shadow Magnemite. But they've got a Dugtrio in the back anyways. There's just not a lot we can do here, unfortunately. We are going to go straight for the Flamethrower. Flamethrower is, of course, super effective. It gets the KO, and we are at a 2-shield advantage here. But we've already seen these Sky Attacks, they just don't do that much damage up against the Azumarill. And, of course, Dragon Breath dealing 1 damage each. It's just not going to add up over time, unfortunately. We recognize that, and so we just concede the match. Now into the next battle, we're going to see Galarian Stunfisk. This is definitely where we need to see it with this team. Of course, Rockside, going to hit for super effective damage, but it's not going to do too much damage here, and Flamethrower is also going to be super effective. And of course, the Dragon Breath damage is going to add up a lot more than the Mud Shots over time. So we fire off the Flamethrower. Flamethrower is going to be shielded. Flamethrower wouldn't get the one-shot from that range, but honestly, the more shields that get used, probably the better this is for the Altaria, as the Dragon Breaths will eventually put them into range where Flamethrower will get the KO. But Flamethrower is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. We then swap. We catch a Rock Slide onto our Aron. Very nice catch there. But the opponent's going to come in with a Turtonator, which also is not that bad for the Aron, except we don't throw a charge move at all. I'm not really sure why we haven't done that. They full send an Overheat. Yeah, very strange play. Not really sure why we didn't throw there, but we come in with the Altaria. We're choosing not to throw, instead committing 1 shield, going for a very aggressive Dragon Breath farm down. We're already at 100 energy there, so a little bit of a waste. They're going to come in with a Dedenne, and unfortunately, it's not looking too good for us. We can come in with the Magnemite, but of course, all charge moves are resisted. They can actually just commit to a full Mudshot farm down. They don't. They fire off the Rock Side. Doesn't really make a difference here. Rock Side doesn't get the KO. They get the farm down anyways. We've got 100 energy. Gonna fire off the Flamethrower. I think Sky Attack would have been the right play there, but either way, doesn't really matter. Dedenne going to be able to tank a Flamethrower. Gonna outpace us to a Parabolic Charge, and so unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we see Shadow Giratina. We are able to swap and catch likely an Ancient Power or a Dragon Claw. Actually, nope, never mind. It's neither of those things. It ends up being a Shadow Sneak from that Giratina. Anyways, we're going to fire off the Rock Tomb here. Rock Tomb is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. The opponent going to have to send a Payback most likely. Actually, never mind. They don't need to throw at all because Sand Attacks are double super effective. Despite debuffing them, we, of course, are still taking a lot of damage with the fast moves there. But they are now double debuffed, so Altaria does not need to shield this. Air Cutter just doesn't do much damage. They swap back into their Shadow Giratina, and we're going to fire off a Sky Attack. Sky Attack going to get the KO there, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent going to come back in with the Corviknight, and we can come in with the Magnemite, but unfortunately, that Volt Switch damage just barely doesn't get the KO there. They full send the Payback. This is only going to be an Air Cutter, which is double resisted. Their final Pokemon is, however, a Turtonator, which is not ideal. I actually don't think we even reach back-to-back discharges here, so should have gone for Magnet Bomb. Doesn't matter, as they end up shielding anyways, and that should be game over. We can come in with the Altaria. We don't throw on the best timing there. We actually throw on alignment, but Sky Attack doesn't KO, but one more Dragon Breath does the job, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, great lead for us as we lead into an extra drill. Of course, they're going to hit for big damage with the rock side, so we will shield this. We can tank a rock side. However, we've got 2 Pokemon that are so weak to the extra drill in the back. We definitely want to preserve as much HP on the Altaria as possible. Excuse me there. Anyways, we're going to shield the next rock side as we are now going to go for a sky attack just before they do reach the next charge move. I'm not actually sure if we can outpace them here to the next move. Let's find out. No, we're actually going to swap out, try to catch the move onto our Aron for some reason. Drill Run gets the one shot there. They come in with a Dragonite and we can go straight for sky attack. So sky attack is going to get the KO there, and the opponent's final Pokemon is actually a second Mud Slapper. So actually quite important that we preserve the HP on the Altaria. Flamethrower gets the one shot. We can Dragon Breath, farm down the extra drill, and we're able to take that game. So seeing quite a lot of like ABA double Mud Slap teams, which is quite tricky for our team to deal with. So actually very well played by Naveen Joseph here. But anyways, into next battle, we're going to see a Night Slash from the Sizzle. We're going to go straight for a Sky Attack and then likely swap out of this matchup. Magnemite has a great matchup here. Of course, double resisting the Bullet Punch damage, but we're going to say swap into Aron now. Typically, Aron and Magnemite, neither of these Pokemon you should be using as a safe swap because it is just so weak to the ground typing, and even worse for us, every ground type, or pretty much every ground type in this meta, is also going to completely wall both of our steel types. Either way, they're going to fight for charge move there. We can come in with the Magnemite, get that farm down, and let's see what they come in with. They're going to come in with Altaria. We likely need 2 charge moves to get the KO here, so could go for Magnet Bomb, but instead, going to go for the Discharge. Discharge does decent damage, and now we're actually going to shield this. Look to over farm. Of course, we are resisting the Dragon Breath damage. It is still adding up over time, however, so we're going to fire off another Discharge. Discharge gets the KO there. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Azumarill. We are going to farm up to back-to-back Discharges, and second Discharge here should be enough damage to easily get the KO. For some reason, we swap out into Altaria. Don't really understand this play. Ice Beam gets the KO, but we've got the second one already loaded. So, of course, Discharge number 2 will be taking out Azumarill, and we're able to take that game. So, heading into next battle, you see Azumarill in the lead once again. So, once again, we're going to swap out. This time, actually swapping into our better answer in Magnemite. And yeah, you just can't do that because, unfortunately, we can't do anything up against Galarian Stunfisk here. They will be able to go for a full Mud Shot farm down, come out with so much loaded energy, and it's pretty much already game over here. Rockside's going to do decent damage. A second Rockside just barely won't get the KO here, but we are kind of forced to shield anyways. And yeah, we're now down a shield. They're going to swap back into Azu, but we now have our not that great Pokemon up against the Azumarill, and we are going to use the final shield up against a Hydro Pump, so that is the correct shield usage there, but still not an ideal situation to be in. We're firing off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb debuffs their attack there, and we can reach another Rock Tomb, but we've actually got back-to-back Body Slam, so I don't mind this play. Body Slam is not going to get the KO, but we do get that Metal Slam farm down. To come back in with a Stunfisk, we are going to go for Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is actually double resisted, but we kind of need to debuff their attack there, as of course we've seen already Rockside is pretty much going to KO the Altaria from this range, but because the opponent actually stays in with the Stunfisk, they then swap out and catch the charge move there. It's going to be game over. Stunfisk, so loaded on energy, probably got back-to-back rock sides, but actually they don't even need it, as the opponent will be reaching a charge move, likely a Side Shock. No, never mind, they go for the Aura Sphere BM just because they can for some reason. Doesn't really make a difference though, they've still got a shield. They go for the Peck farm down, and unfortunately we do lose that game. Into the next battle, and yet another Azumarill in the lead. Let me know if you actually played in this meta. I only played two days of it, actually. Was it 2 days or just the 1 day? I actually can't remember. Yeah, I genuinely can't remember. I think I played the Giratina Origin team. I don't know if I made a second video in this meta, but either way, it seems like a very boring meta to watch. So either way, we're going to go and no shield. They full send the overheat, but we can Dragon Breath farm them down. They come back in with the Azu. We can come in with the Magnemite, and we're definitely going to have to shield this. Even an Ice Beam, as I mentioned, going to do big damage. Their final Pokemon is the Dene, and this is okay with us. It is a Pokemon that we should completely wall. However, Play Rough is going to one-shot us. Even Parabolic Charge is going to do big damage here. They fire off the Parabolic Charge. We are going to go for... Excuse me there. Gonna go for a Magnet Bomb, but they boosted up the defense. It doesn't get the KO. We swap. We make the catch onto Altaria, but this is going to allow the opponent to come back in with the Azumarill if they want to. Nope, never mind. They're actually just going to force us to throw. Either way, Sky Attack will be getting the KO here. They're going to come back in with the Azumarill, and they need to overfarm. They can tank a Sky Attack very comfortably, but the opponent doesn't overfarm by much. They fire off the Ice Beam, which does give us a window to reach a discharge at the last second here up against this Azu, and of course, super effective. It takes out Azumarill, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see a Shadow Empoleon in the lead. So this is an okay-ish matchup for us. Of course, we got a really good matchup with our Magnemite, but Aron is going to struggle up against the Empoleon, so we will just be staying in this matchup here. Gonna fire the Flamethrower. Flamethrower is gonna hit for neutral damage up against the Steel and Water typing. We're then able to swap, likely catching a Drill Peck here, which is double resisted. Really nice catch there. However, the opponent will, of course, outpace us to the next charge move, so gonna look to just fully sacrifice the Aron. The opponent is going to stay in with their Empoleon. We are still switch locked here, so we're going to come in with the Shadow Magnemite, and the opponent is going to allow pretty much a full farm down there. They come in with the Corviknight, but we're already at back-to-back discharges. First one grabs the final shield. We can throw discharge number 2 straight away. Discharge gets the KO there. They're going to come in with a Stunfisk. I don't know why they didn't come in with the Stunfisk up against our Magnemite, but we're not going to complain. We go for Flamethrower, dealing decent damage here. And we definitely should shield this. I believe Rockside would do more damage than a Drill Peck from the Shadow Empoleon. But anyways, they come back in. They snipe with the Drill Peck, but we are able to tank it. And can we reach a last-second Flamethrower here? We commit to the Flamethrower. We get there in time. And of course, super effective. It takes out the Stunfisk, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see a Alolan Dugtrio in the lead, so of course, great lead matchup for us, definitely where we need to see it with this team, and we can actually tank this. Of course, they're going to be on Iron Head rather than the Excadrill or the Galarian Stunfisk, which do have Rock-Slide for coverage. We're going to no-shield a Parabolic Charge, and that does big damage there, and of course, it does boost up the defense. We can fire off the Magnet Bomb. Magnet Bomb gonna be no-shielded. And do we need switch advantage? We are definitely going to take it, as of course we have an Aron in the back. We can't afford it to be aligned to the Dugtrio, but let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come back in with the Dugtrio. We're going straight for Magnet Bomb here. Magnet Bomb not going to be shielded. It does insane damage, and we actually come in with the Aron, predicting the opponent to swap out straight away. Really nice heads up play there. We can fire off the Rock Tomb, and then I believe we just don't shield the Aron at all in this matchup here. The opponent does probably have the energy for a Hydro Pump. We're going to shield anyways, and it is just the Ice Beam bait there, which is unfortunate for us. But now we can go for a second Rock Tomb, and this is actually going to mean that Ice Beam, well, actually, never mind, Altaria is very low here. But the opponent swaps back into Dugtrio. They clear the debuff, but they still need to go for Hydro Pump. The opponent doesn't. They go for Ice Beam. We're going to go for another Rock Tomb here. Rock Tomb might end up grabbing the final shield from the opponent. It does exactly that. And now Altaria got a lot of energy. We're going to go for a Sky Attack. Sky Attack is going to, of course, connect. And we're actually trying to go for a BM Flamethrower. The opponent outpaces us. Ice Beam gets the KO, but we can Metal Sand farm down, and we're able to take that game. Now going into possibly the final battle of this video, leading into a Shadow Salamence. The opponent's going to swap into Scizor, and of course we will need to shield, respect the damage from a Night Slash, but now we can look to overfarm by 1 Volt Switch and fire off the Discharge. Unfortunately, not quite dealing enough damage to go for a full farm down here, but we do get the KO, and we are able to reach another Discharge into Lucario coming in. Discharge is going to be shielded there. We're going to come in with the Shadow Altaria, and of course we are going to no-shield the first charge move. The opponent fires off that Thunder Punch. We are now going to look to overfarm. We throw a Flamethrower, but of course the opponent does still have a shield here. They're going to use the shield. We could have just settled for a Sky Attack in all honesty, but anyways, gonna shield here. The opponent fires off the Thunder Punch, and the opponent's gonna look and make a brilliant catch there. That is actually devastating for us. We've only got Aron, but we do go for a slight undercharge. We get the full farm down, and can Aron take this game here? We've only got resistant moves. They're hitting for double super effective force palm damage. We go for Body Slam, and Aron just barely hanging on and able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.